Welcome to the first episode Around the Campfire, a YouTube series and podcast about true crime and other unexplained phenomenon that happens all over the world.
We are going to be hosting tonight in Glendale, Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Mac Tyler, and this is my brother,
John Tyler, and our friend over in the UK.
In the quaint little town of Folkrest, it's me, Alex. I'm here too.
Thanks, Alex. So, we're going to go ahead and start on a pretty big case from a few years ago about the Joneses. Anybody?
The Joneses.
The Joneses.
Oh, wasn't that... It was like 5 years ago or something?
3. I think it was 3 years ago.
You think... Yeah, wasn't that crazy case that people kept saying it was supernatural or some shit?
No.
No?
I don't think so. But that's what we're going to talk about. So, thankfully to the government having a new Freedom of Information law that we're able to actually get to look at some of these things and cases, we decided that we were going to use that ability, look at books, online posts, just generally do research about these things, and we're going to look into Marianne Jones's murder. So I'm going to go ahead.
Her name is immediately very generic.
Marianne Jones?
I think a pet.
Yeah.
It's very likely, old. Where did this happen, by the way?
So this happened in Humble, Utah.
Oh, yeah, Utah makes sense.
Right. So that's where Marianne Jones grew up, in Humble, Utah. Small town.
Deadass, though.
Deadass, though?
She sounds like a fucking Jane Doe.
Oh, man. Well, the murder of Jane Doe is going to be for a future... I'm just kidding. No.
Yeah.
No, that we could just do a whole episode called Jane Doe's.
Oh, the
We
Jane
found
Doe
this
episode.
one in New York. We found this one in Vancouver. We found this one in...
But is it aliens?
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't be like that.
Alright, so let's talk about Marianne Jones. So Marianne Jones was found in her apartment with multiple stab wounds. She was stabbed 9 times through the chest.
Wow.
While she was asleep. There was no struggle. The only thing about her that was weird, though, is she was, like, freaking terrified. Like, if you look, the crime scene photos show her kind of, like, staring wide-eyed up at whoever was stabbing her to death.
I mean, okay, I think I'd be pretty fucking terrified, too, if I was getting stabbed in the fucking chest 9 times.
So, she had some DNA evidence on her of consensual intercourse sometime before her death. The DNA does not match the DNA that the police took from her husband. It does, however, match with Robert Klein, her traveling sales partner, who worked with her and traveled around the country. Now, the stab wounds are consistent with a knife found in the Jones residence. Mr. Jones' fingerprints and DNA were found on the hilt of the knife, as well as traces of blood from Mrs. Jones, which were attempted to be cleaned off the knife. So, they found the knife in the apartment. It had her blood on it. The husband, Henry Jones, fingerprints were on it. It was in the sink. He tried to clean it by the time the authorities arrived. So, they estimated the time of death was at 11:45, March 7th, 2018. So, right now we're going to talk about Marianne Jones, but there is something interesting to talk about Mr. Jones.
Before we get to that,
Okay.
Alex, God, first episode's a mess, but expected. Alex, what did you want to say?
This seems like immediately a very open and shut case. Like the missus was having an affair. The dude found out. Big old stab wounds. Boom, 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 boom. And I mean, what's the mystery here?
So the mystery is that Mr. Jones was arrested for the murder of his wife. He disappeared from his jail cell on March 15th at 9:30 a.m.
What do you mean disappeared?
The camera shut off for 2 minutes, and he is gone.
Like,
he is still gone. No one has found Henry Jones. In the 3 years since the murder, no one has found Henry Jones.
What type of facility was it?
A state penitentiary.
Was it just his cell? Was it the entire block? Was it like a state thing, or was it just his cell?
He was sitting in a cell. The cells were closed at 9:30 in the morning, right after breakfast. They locked it up to the way that they do, and he disappeared. So that's the interesting thing, is that Mr. Jones disappeared. But before we get into whether or not Mr. Jones killed his wife, we should probably talk about Henry Jones, right?
Yeah, we should talk about Henry Jones.
Are you ready to talk about Henry Jones, Alex?
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about Henry Jones.
Henry Jones sounds like an interesting person.
So Henry Jones was set to be a star quarterback for the Humblebee Hornets.
Oh shit, the Humblebee Hornets?
That's right. The big hometown team in
The
Humble, Utah.
Humblebee Hornets.
The Humblebee Hornets. Yeah.
Oh my
that seems like
God.
a bit of a... Like, no
I hate
disrespect
them.
to any Humblebee fans on the show, but fucking... I just don't understand why someone named themselves the Humblebee Hornets. It just...
Oh, you know what's great?
No. Hold up. Hornets and bees are completely different species.
Yo, so you know what's great though? So there's an article as we talk about Henry Jones and his young life called "Hometown Hornets Humbled" by Bradley Buxtable. It was written in April 25th, this exact day in 1997. So the exact day.
Wow, that's a good coincidence.
That's a good coincidence, right? So what happened though is on that day, on the day of the big game, Henry Jones went out there and he was tackled, and his knee shattered into 1,000 little shards. I mean, they had to take him off the field, and he was never playing football again. He lost his football scholarship. All right, he lost his everything. He was not good at school.
I mean,
his only thing was to be this football player.
I mean, shit, you hear about career-ruining injuries, but goddamn.
So this is how Henry Jones starts his young life as an adult.
I heard rumors from because I dig into forums. I heard some rumors from true crime forums that he cheated his way through high school. There were rumors that he, had a thing going on with a couple of other kids. Not the smartest tool.
He was not a smart guy.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form. So his knee was gone. In 1993, he then was admitted to Humble Hospital after he attempted to slip both his wrists.
Oh.
Oh man.
He does sport nasty scars on both his wrists from the cuts.
Oh.
So this is where we find Henry in 1993. This guy has nothing, right?
Yeah.
Then Marianne Chambers comes into this boy's life.
Marianne? That name sounds familiar.
You're getting it, Alex. You're understanding. So she was responsible for bringing him his schoolwork. And Henry fell madly in love with her. And that's the key thing to talk about. From this moment on, Henry loved his wife. No one, in all the interviews and everything as we talk about this story, Henry loves his wife.
So, John, what would, we're not saying, he had no other thought, he fell hard.
Right. Now, that doesn't, there's going to be more things to talk about, but I just want to... Yeah, he starts living his life, right? So, so she changed Henry's life, and he fell madly in love with her. So she goes off to college, right? She goes off to college, she's pre-med, she wants to be a doctor because of the fact that, Henry's knee surgery and medicine and, all this, this cute Hallmark, Hallmark movie shit,
Yeah.
And then...
Until they, fell out of business. And
then Henry decides he's going to take over his father's hardware shop. Hardware Humbled.
Oh,
I love this town, by the way. I just want to say, Humbled, Utah sounds like a beautiful place.
I mean,
listen. Why did they name every fucking thing in this fucking town? What's going on?
I think that one of the mayors gave a tax discount or some shit if you had Humble in your name. Yeah.
Well, it's just the thing. Like you gotta understand. This is like a church town. Okay. This is a town that has been around. Like, you know, the same people that lived there in 1993. Their ancestors formed Humble, you know, Utah.
Why
back
humble
in the
though?
Because they were humble people.
So what? They were
Were they?
I don't know. That's not what this is about.
I'm sorry.
I don't have a lot of notes on the foundation of Humble. Maybe in a future episode.
Naming your fucking town Humble is like the opposite of being humble. That's pretty fucking prideful. What the fuck?
Okay.
So Henry takes over the shop. They move in together while Marianne's in college, right? But so this is when tragedy kind of strikes here. So Marianne was a senior in college, and Henry and her went out to a bar, and some college guys proceeded to hit on her. And so one thing about Marianne is a very, very attractive woman, right?
Yeah.
She is a small town beauty. That is what she is. And you know, Henry fell in love with her because of it, and it should also led to her having a lot of male attention. Oh my god, I hear the hounds in the background. The hounds!
Yeah. Around the campfire.
Bark.
Also dogs in the background.
Somebody tell the neighbor's dog to shut up! No, I'm kidding. But so what happens here is that there is a man. The man at this bar. Sorry, the hounds really distracted me and caused me to lose myself.
Lose yourself? Jesus.
Yes, the dogs have me freaked out. We're around a campfire at night. I'm freaked out, Alex. I know we're all on computers, but it's still late at night.
But
I'm a little freaked out by the dogs.
Yeah, we but continue.
So, oh god, they're back. You know what's crazy is that none of us have dogs. We already are tapping into the horror around the campfire.
Around the campfire, episode 2, the mysterious disappearance of the Mac and John siblings.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. So Josh Tillman at this bar decides that he's going to grab Marianne's ass. Like, I mean, the most disgusting. Like he disrespected this woman.
I have not heard good things about this man.
Josh Tillman.
Yeah.
Well, he's just an asshole.
Yeah, he's just a piece of shit.
So this is what happened, though. Henry grabbed Josh Tillman, took him outside, broke his jaw, dislocated his shoulder. He had internal bleeding and a ruptured spleen. I mean, Henry beat this guy to an inch of his life for touching his wife.
Good for him. Good for him. Let's round of applause.
So Henry, despite being given a sympathetic verdict by the jury, proceeds to spend the next 3 years in prison for assault.
Jesus.
Boo.
So Henry's in jail now. All right. So his knees shattered. He attempted to end his own life. He loves his wife, and then he assaulted a man who touched his wife.
Oh, hey, a train. This.
You good, Mac?
There's just a train, and we don't live near a train station, so we're definitely dead by the end of this episode. Next time, it's just Alex searching for our killers. Was it the dogs? The train?
It was the train. No. We'll all
Tommy the tank engine.
Thomas the tank engine.
We'll safely behind all computers.
The lights are on.
The lights are on. We just have a shitty campfire sound effect in the background.
Yeah,
or there's ghost trains. I'm gonna say there's ghost trains. So
just to clear things up, dear audience of like 2 people, we are not actually around a campfire.
We're just trying to
that
make
was clickbait.
That was
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
We around the campfire is symbolic. But so we're gonna move on from the ghost train.
We couldn't afford a real campfire.
The mystery of the ghost train.
So while Henry was in jail, he and Marianne talked every day. Okay?
Every day?
Every day.
Like, we...
On the phone. They talked.
That, like, I know caring for people, but, like, that's a lot of phone calls.
Didn't she have fucking medical college? Like, goddamn.
Wouldn't she be busy at some point?
So, Marianne graduated college, but due to Henry being in jail, she needed to support herself. So she becomes a sales representative with Oak Light Medicinal Enterprises, which is a medical company that makes drugs and experimental treatments, and the Ghost Train's back.
Ooh, Big Pharma. Ghost Train does not approve of Big Pharma.
I'll wait until we hit what we believe, but I have heard nothing but bad things about this company.
Oh my god, that Ghost Train!
The Ghost Train does not care for Big Pharma.
I thought this would be Campfire. I didn't think, oh, there's a fucking train!
Fellas, we're renaming the podcast. This is Around the Train Station.
You know what's terrible is the fact that I muted it and it's still making the train sounds. I muted it. Oh man. Okay, it stopped.
It's done.
Oh man. All right. So the Ghost Train has spoken. But no. So we're gonna get back so Marianne became a sales representative of Oakley Medicinal Enterprises. Stop, Alex. I don't need a new ghost. So she needed the job to support herself while Henry was in prison. That's what she needed. And so when Henry got out of prison, he proposed, and she said yes. They got married. And he accepted the fact that his wife was now going on trips all the time. Marianne was not home a lot. She would go to different cities and sell, these medical products to hospitals and doctors.
Oh, so instead of being a doctor, she was a
scam
sales
artist.
representative. No, not a scam artist.
Uh-huh. Sounds like a load of fucking bullshit to me, but okay.
Sales representatives aren't just, like, rip-offs. That's offensive to the job class.
But so
That's what they want you to think.
Okay, let's get back on track.
So I'm John. I saw Josh Tillman in my notes, and I immediately was like, "Am I Josh Tillman? Am I Josh Tillman? Am I John?"
John, you good?
John, you.
The Ghost Trains really fucked me up. Like the dogs in the Ghost Trains rattled me. I mean, I know it's just the YouTube, but this stuff gets creepy. I did a lot of research, and I'm honestly a little spooked.
For whom the train tolls.
Exactly. John and Marianne get in a car accident in 2015 with a drunk driver, leading both of them to being in the hospital. This accident once again injured Henry's shattered knee, leading him to be... It's not funny. You feel really bad for this poor guy, right? Like, he's an excruciating piece. So his knee was already held together by, like, pins and glue. And then those pins became like a grenade that once again shot out of his knee and, like, fucked up his knee so bad.
Wait.
So now his knee's being held by duct tape and some fucking dreams.
He and Marianne?
Yes.
Didn't this happen in 2009?
2015.
2015. Oh, so this was after the miscarriage.
So they got into this car accident in 2015.
Yeah.
And Henry's knee is popped open. And you know what, Mac? We are going to talk... I will talk about some of the medical records. I'm glad that you did your research.
I looked over some of your resources. I made sure I had some of the important shit. Because I did my own research. And even though it's less official because I have my own thoughts. But I did my own research. I just wanted to make sure we were keeping things up to track.
Research.
It is research. You want to know? I read police reports, Alex. I read the book The Joneses and Me, written by...
What's that?
This is not a joke, alright?
Was the guy who wrote it on crack?
No, The Joneses and Me, alright, was written by Robert Klein.
Wait a second.
Because he's the guy that had the affair with Marianne. He wrote his own book, The Joneses and Me.
That's such a... Who the fuck would trust that guy?
Apparently a book publishing company.
This is incredibly in bad taste. Holy fuck.
Oh yeah, well Robert Klein's not we're not at Robert Klein
We're not
yet.
at Robert Klein yet. We're still on
but
fucking...
I read that garbage book. That's what I did, Alex, for this case. I read The Joneses and Me by Robert Klein.
Did you
which
read
honestly
the full
has
version or the
it honestly
notes?
has far too many like descriptive sex scenes for my liking.
Wait, did you get PDF or hardback?
Hardback?
Oh my god, it's so overpriced. It's like $50 fucking
All right,
dollars.
well, we're moving on. Okay, so so his knee is literally blown open. All right. So after this, Henry's got to start taking some pills. All right.
Yep.
He does. He's just taking painkillers like it's nobody's business.
Like they're candy.
And it's very apparent to everyone in his life that he has a problem. So he and his wife were saving up money for him to have surgery done on his knee so that he could be pain-free when she died. So,
to the 9 stab wounds.
yes. So here's.
I feel like that's important to mention.
So that is up to this point. So we're gonna talk about what Henry says happens to the murder now. All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about what Henry says happened. We're gonna look at some documents from real sources that I'm gonna kind of like talk about to show, like what the investigators thought and different things about Henry, and then we're gonna pretty much just move on from Henry, just so that you guys kind of know how I did my research here.
Okay.
I'm kind of expecting his disappearance to be just fucking. He broke his knee again, and he just fucking shattered.
And it ripped
Like,
a hole
fuck-
through space and time.
It just, he shattered
Yeah.
his own knee to the point where he
No.
opened a mini black hole.
No. He shatters his leg. At that point, it was being held up by like some duct tape, spit, and like hopes and wishes. He cracked that open again. Bam! Split open like a fucking statue crumbling down, dead, no trace.
He walks with a limp. So, but so Henry says that on the night of the murder. So this is literally what he says happened. On the night of the murder, Marianne cooked dinner and cut her finger. After dinner, Henry was doing the dishes while his wife laid down in their bedroom. So, one thing that Henry does when he does dishes is he puts his headphones in. Which might not have been the smartest thing to do.
I do that.
But, okay, yeah, so Mac does that. I actually do that too. But so he
Okay, but
thought
Matt's
his wife
never
was
gonna get married though.
Oh, you bitch.
Alright, guys, focusing on the true crimes, not the verbal crimes that are happening across those sound waves. So, she said that she had only gotten home a few hours ago before dinner, and she was exhausted from her trip. He went to go check on her when he was gripped with fear outside their bedroom door. He swears he heard a strange clicking sound coming from inside their bedroom. When he finally broke the spell over him and headed into the bedroom, he found his wife dead, with multiple stab wounds on her chest. Her face was in a frozen state of horror as she died. The only thing he noticed was that their bedroom window was open. But investigators deemed it impossible for anyone to have climbed in on the 4th floor of an apartment complex. Henry learned a lot about his wife while in detainment for the crime of murder. He learned about Robert Klein and his wife's affair, about her extensive medical records, and about the fact that everyone believed he did it and resigned himself to a life in prison, except for the fact he vanished from a heavily guarded state penitentiary with no idea of where he went.
Like,
to this day,
how heavily?
It's a state prison.
Like,
it's a state prison.
Are we talking max? Are we talking?
No, I mean he murdered his wife, so it's like a heavier duty crime.
Yeah, it's
prison.
like it's not something that someone could easily break into.
Right. So
Or out of.
So now that we've kind of talked about Henry a little bit, we can look at some of the things that are kind of weird.
Immediate thought: strange clicking noises. What, like a fucking switchblade?
he described it as inhuman clicking. Like,
Wow.
Wow.
like, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, because a lot of people try to make sense of what he's describing by this clicking sound, but it was like a sharp, inhuman click, like the sound that a human mouth wouldn't make, and it wasn't like a tapping.
Show me what that mouth do.
I don't know what the mouth does, Alex, but I'm just telling you that that's what he claims. So, a few documents I just want to go over since we're talking about Henry. The kitchen knife, right? The knife was found, and I'm just reading the evidence report. The knife was found in the Joneses' kitchen sink. It had been left soaking in dishwater when bagged by detectives. The knife matches the wound profile for the stab wounds found on Mrs. Jones' body. The knife is the right length, and when tested against a wound analysis cadaver, was found to have left similar indentations and damage. Despite the attempts by the murderer to clean the weapon, blood was still found on the tip of the kitchen knife that belonged to Mrs. Jones. Fingerprints of both Mr. and Mrs. Jones was found on the handle of the knife. Mr. Jones' fingertips were also found on the kitchen sink, indicating that he had prepared the water and attempted to wash the knife that evening. So that's the murder. That's the murder weapon. According to the police, that is the knife, and that's how they analyze it.
I'm a little confused, as in, like, one, if, like, they found blood on the tip of the blade, which, to me, makes no fucking sense.
I mean, like, wasn't he trying to clean it?
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, it makes sense if his version of events, at least up to her cutting herself, is true. But if he is stabbing into her, why is it only that they find it at the tip, where if you're soaking a knife, the tip goes in first?
So, I guess my counterpoint to this is, like, if he's stabbing into her, he's getting a lot of, like, goop, right?
Yeah.
Like inner stuff. Like stuff that's goop. Organs and shit. And just shit. Like, a good example is I had brownies the other day. I cut into those brownies with a knife, right?
Yeah.
When I clean it, the hardest part to get all the brownie guck off is the point that immediately cuts through to the bottom. So the point is it goes the farthest into the body. It's not just little blood. It's getting all these organs and tissues, which means that, like, the DNA is going to be thickest at that point.
I'm just saying, like, it seems strange that it's only the tip when I assume that there'd at least be a little bit on the blade itself.
Could have just been the wrong knife.
From what I've been told and what, evidence has shown, this is not small cuts into her. These are, like, deep.
It's a pretty good stab.
Yeah, like...
It could have just been the wrong knife.
Okay, maybe. So you guys ready for the real twist in the case?
Tell me the twist.
Are you ready, Alex?
M. Night Shyamalan me.
So, as part of the investigation, they looked at a list of times that Marianne Jones received health care. Are you ready to hear every time she went to the doctor?
Ooh, I have this.
Sure.
So, on December 4th, 2003, she had a broken collarbone, a split lip, and 3 broken fingers.
The fuck?
On September 8th, 2004, her right arm was broken in 2 places. On June 8th, 2007, she had head trauma, she was diagnosed with a concussion, had to receive stitches to close the head wound. On 9/13/2009, she miscarried during the 9th week of pregnancy. Father unknown.
Jesus.
On December 25th,
Father
Christmas. Yep, father unknown. December 25th, 2012, she broke 2 of her ribs and had heavy bruising on her abdomen. On Christmas. On May 3rd, 2015, she came in from a car crash, which we know about, pulled glass out of her abdomen, required 34 stitches, and suffered another concussion. On January 10th...
What is this woman made of?
On January 10th, 2018, metal pins were put in her left leg. Her leg was shattered. Was consistent with blunt force trauma.
Okay,
So when looking at these records, the police assumed that Henry Jones was beating the shit out of his wife.
See,
No, listen, John. Are we sure she wasn't actually in debt to the fucking mob?
yeah, because I'm with Alex on this where there's no fucking, like, I would be in more belief except for the, like, crash, and obviously the husband did not know about the baby.
Oh, the baby is the only one that's normal on the fucking list.
How did she hide the pregnancy for 9 months?
9 weeks.
How the fuck does
What,
he...
9 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, bad luck for her.
That's 2 months and a week.
Yeah, but, like, how the fuck does, he somehow instigate a car crash?
Oh, I'm not saying that he's instigating the car crash, but the thing is we know that John assaulted a man, broke his jaw, dislocated his shoulder, caused internal bleeding, and when people looked at that assault case and looked at what happens to Marianne Jones, it's not hard to see that the same guy who, as he gets deeper into his pills and he gets deeper into this pain and this, like, worthlessness of a man, that he wouldn't beat the shit out of his wife.
Yeah.
And that's what
Jesus!
that is what the investigators thought happened. So I'm just telling you what happened to this woman, which sounds a harrowing amount of medical issues.
I have a question. What's paying for this? Cause
her healthcare. She works for a health company.
Can you tell me the company name again?
Yes, I can.
Oak, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it's Oaklight.
Yeah.
Oaklight Medicinal Express.
Okay, because put a pin in that, because Oaklight's going to be important for my discussion later.
Listen. I'm not saying Oaklight is suspicious, because I'm sure they've done a lot of good, but are we sure they didn't hire the mob to beat the shit out of her for something?
Oh, well, we're gonna talk. So I have one more thing to talk about with Henry before we talk about Marianne's partner. So, while Henry was incarcerated, right? In those few days before he disappeared, he had a psychological evaluation for his case done by a Dr. Asimov. And the observations that were found is that they believed that Henry seriously believed that someone had broken into his home and killed his wife. While explaining the absurdity of the claim to him, he only gets more desperate about his innocence. When questioned of his use of the substances he claims he uses, of the substances he's taking, like the pills, he claims he uses them to self-medicate an old sports injury he received in high school. He also continued to say, "I wouldn't hurt my wife," repeatedly. He responded very well to questions about his marriage and his viewing of the victim. He would constantly use her self-described nickname, which he termed Gail, stating his wife disliked both Mary and Anne as uses for her first name. The subject also claims the victim turned his life around, and he loved her dearly for making him a better person. He grew quite angry when the DNA was brought up about found on his wife's body, claiming that the victim would never cheat on him. So there's a little bit more. This is really rough shit. So if you want to comment on any of that before I read the psychologist's conclusions about Henry Jones.
Right, yeah, listen. I know you're gonna start going into weird old supernatural, whatever the fuck shit and theories, but, like, maybe Henry did just fucking kill his wife. So I'll be the first case of that.
I'm gonna be honest, this is what is gonna convince me, like, theories is more important later, but I'll just say now, I don't think he killed his wife. And I'll go more in depth later on, but I genuinely think with this in particular, this isn't what seems to be a guy who got really high and killed his wife. No. This is a guy who clearly loved his wife. And I think if it was going to be a drugged out thing, I don't think it would just be 9 knife wounds.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because if he was beating his wife that bad,
He would have beaten her.
yeah, it would have been
before
more
he
of an
killed her.
accident. The knife feels premeditated.
Yeah,
I
the-
guess.
I
don't know though. Alex could be right. It's not the first husband to kill his wife. So I'm gonna read the
It's
last
always
thing
the
about
husband.
Henry. So this is what the psychologist wrote for his trial. I believe the subject truly thinks that he did not murder his wife and that she was perfect for him. However, his history of substance abuse and running with the law don't paint a happy picture. The subject is avoidant of issues in his life, and this seems to stem from the tragedy he suffered as a teenager. Every action that happens against him is someone else's fault based upon his responses. He idolized the victim and most likely had these violent drug-induced episodes due to issues they had in their marriage. The subject has a history of twisting incidents to put fault at the hands of others. Odds are that if the subject had murdered his wife when discovering the affair that was occurring between her and her lover, he would have snapped. After the act, he would not have been mentally equipped to take responsibility for the action of murdering his wife, and would have attributed his blame on anyone else. Due to no one else being in the house at this time, this blame could be manifested as this mystery killer in his mind. And that's the last thing I'm going to talk about for Henry Jones. So,
it sounds like he was more in love with the idea of Marianne than actually in love with her.
well, it's hard because of the fact that, like,
we don't have anyone to talk. Like, we have Robert still, right? He hasn't disappeared fucking...
Robert's around, but Robert... So we're going to talk about Robert Klein, because Robert Klein is a...
We also have to talk about Marianne, right? She's not as important.
So the thing about Marianne is that Marianne is such a weird thing because most of her life is just being with Henry. Honestly, most of her life is being with Henry, her medical records, and just these trips that she went on. She doesn't have friends. She has her husband and she has her job. She doesn't have anything else.
And wait.
She has her parents, which were sad that she died, but, like, that was it. She came from a small town. She had no friends. She met Henry, who thought she was the shit, obviously, and then that was enough for her.
Yeah.
And that was it. So...
let's talk about fucking Robert.
So, Robert Klein works as a senior sales agent for Oaklight Medicinal Express. Senior sales agents are teamed up with new sales agents as a team of two who go around to hospitals and doctors trying to sell new pharmaceutical drugs and equipment made by Oaklight Medicinal Express.
Wait, doctors or hospitals?
Both. They go to offices and hospitals and they try to sell drugs and equipment. Be like, oh, this is going to cure cancer, or etc.
So we talking like multi-level...
Yeah, like, they would sell different things. Machines. Like, they'd bring schematics for a machine and be like, this is our new MRI.
So, there's been a lot of shadiness, but from official reports, they aren't, like, scamming.
No, they I promise you, when you go to the doctor, something that they use when they test you is made by these people.
Okay.
Like, I will state that for a fact. He met Marianne at a job fair while she was at Utah State University for pre-med. She was desperate for a job due to her husband's current incarceration, and Robert Klein became the man that had all the answers. Robert claims...
All the answers.
Yep. Robert claims that they grew close as they worked together and had a totally professional relationship. Though as Henry got out...
Listen.
Oh,
Listen.
yeah, professional. Oh, I got you pregnant. Don't worry about
Listen. I'm not calling him a liar, but I'm not gonna trust a man who wrote a book named The Jones and Me.
Oh, Christ.
So, Robert claims that, sorry, I already read those notes, I was laughing so hard. Though as Henry got out of prison, he seemed to have developed even more anger issues, and that led to Marianne spending more time on trips for the company. Robert claiming that she would even go on extra assignments for extra money just to get away from her husband. Robert, also having a family, wife and kids, decided to go on these trips with her, at first as a way to also earn extra money, but eventually to become secret getaways for the two. They began an affair due to the myriad of hotels and cities they were in alone, far from their families. Life on the road can be lonely, according to Robert.
Wait, Robert has a family?
Wife and kids, yes he does.
And he wrote a book about how he cheated on his family. Does he still have his wife and kids?
Yes, he does.
What the fuck?
Oh, we're gonna get into how we gotta get into who Robert is here. Life on the road can be very lonely, according to Robert, and they embraced each other while on the road together.
Ooh, embraced means fuck, by the way?
Yeah, a love note was found in Marianne's belongings when the police searched the crime scene with Robert's name written on it. The DNA found on Marianne's body was also a match for Robert Klein's DNA. Now, this is all the data that the investigation found on Robert Klein. So before we talk about some things that I found out about Robert Klein,
like,
I want to read you the love note. I want to read it to you.
Oh, shit.
Because we have it. And
we do have it.
Dearest Marianne, I think of you in the dark of night, when there is nothing but the lingering scent of you on my sheets to satisfy me.
How is this guy a published author?
The dark holds a certain air of danger since our last getaway together. I worry what will happen when you tell him of us. It will be for the best, however. He does not understand you the way that I do. He does not know your hopes and your dreams. He does not hold your life in his hands the way that I do. He struggles and flounders while we soar together. We both know that time is coming for you to leave that town and bid him farewell. I will see you next on the 19th of March. I await our next assignment together. Your consort, Robert.
John?
Yeah, Alex?
You know, I said I believed Henry murdered her, but, okay. New theory. This fucker's a vampire.
I think, and I'll say this now, the two theories I've been leaning back and forth on, one of them is Robert fucking murdered her, because he seems really fucking creepily into her. He wrote an entire book about her murder.
No, about his life with Marianne.
Which is even worse.
And his hatred for Henry Jones.
Oh,
there's a lot of hatred for Henry in that.
But, like, it just,
So do you guys want to figure out what I found out about Robert Klein?
Tell us.
And not just from his book. So, Robert Klein didn't always work at, Oaklight.
Did he come from the fucking Ren Fair?
No, he was a liberal arts English professor at Utah State.
what?
Yeah. And he seemed to have a bit of a problem for young women.
Oh my god.
He was dismissed from the university due to one such relationship with a student that turned sour. Apparently, Robert could be quite aggressive when it came to having a position of power over women. The woman made allegations about Robert threatening to fail the female student when she no longer wanted to continue sleeping with him. He also would show up at her house, write her unwanted love letters.
Oh, Christ.
Stalk her. It was not good. And a lot of people, as this stuff has kind of gone out, it's been a few years since the crime, so you know how the true crime community works.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be hard to believe that a similar dynamic is being true for Marianne. She needs that job. That job is her healthcare. It's her husband's healthcare with this super fucked up twig knee that he has.
And, you know, with him being on... Like, I get really weird vibes from hearing your consort. Also, good question I want to know. What date was she murdered at?
What date?
Yeah.
I gotta go back up to the top. March 7th.
Is he a fucking vampire?
So, another interesting thing about,
Robert said on the 19th.
19th of March, yes, he
Which
did.
means they were going to meet.
Yeah. I mean, many people use that note as a way to say that, you know, he couldn't have killed her because he was playing... Like, the Robert Klein people in the true crime division of this case believe that Marianne was going to leave her wife for this guy. But here's the thing. He had a key to her apartment. He had a key to her apartment. He admits to having a key to her apartment, and Jones and me, they would fuck in that apartment when Henry was at work. According to
I can't believe
Robert.
Henry's an actual cuck.
And so that's the thing, is that, like, he had access. He could have gone in there. He could have killed her. There's really no, like, it took Henry supposedly 30 minutes to do the dishes. 30 minutes of a window where his wife is in that room, and he has headphones on. So, and, you know, he was aggressive with these women. He could have been aggressive with her. And some people think that Robert Klein is the reason that, you know, she has these accidents. There's some rumors that he might be a little kinky in the bedroom with women and
Sharp objects?
breaking things.
Ah.
So, but yeah, so that's it from Robert Klein. So the second most believed suspect. So now we're about to do the last suspect of Marianne Jones's death. Now,
Is it Marianne Jones?
before we go down this road, I have to immediately recognize that this is all going to sound crazy. And a lot of my resources for this are eyewitness accounts, barely related articles, and just a lot of interesting things.
Before we do this,
I have a
can we take a short break?
Do you want to take a short break to, like, get ready for what we're about to sit down and do?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a drink.
Okay, that sounds good. So,
An alcoholic one. Just fuck you.
Alrighty, so we all peed and we all drank.
I did not drink, but I peed.
Alright.
The way you phrased that.
What? Oh, we all drank pee. Oh man. Alright, so we're gonna talk about what a lot of people just call the creature. The creature that Henry Jones says killed his wife. Alright, so that's the third suspect. And yeah,
Okay, Mac?
are you done? Get your shits
I'm
in,
here.
Get your shits and
Like, when you edit this episode, play the spooky music here, okay?
Nah, fuck you. But,
So we're gonna talk about this creature that Henry Jones says killed his wife.
ooh, I actually know a little bit about this.
Okay. Would you like to speak?
Nah, you first.
Okay.
Because all I have is, like, some witness accounts and some shit that probably wouldn't hold up in a courtroom.
Okay.
Because I dug
I
around.
don't think any of this is gonna hold up in a court.
Well, there's
after
no
this
court.
point.
Henry's gone. Okay, like
No, I know. I just more mean, like...
I mean, unless
it's
someone gets
very
Robert
shady.
Klein for being the shitty. I mean, he wrote the book, The Joneses Me.
Jones isn't me.
All right, so
Sounds like a
So here's
shitty
the thing.
movie.
Henry claims that a monster killed his wife. So everything from this point forth is using that as the end goal. Okay.
Yeah,
So
the delusions of a madman.
So, to begin with, we have to look at the last trip Marianne took for work. She went a few hours away to Wilting, Wyoming. Alright? Wilting, Wyoming.
Wow,
Wow.
that sounds like a fucking scary place.
So, Wilting
This
is
is
you can go on.
This is as bad as humble. Utah.
So,
What the fuck is with you Americans and names?
Utah? You just said
Utah?
Utah?
oh man,
It's
this is why you lost the Revolutionary War. You can't even say the states.
Fuck up.
So, Wilting, Wyoming. Wilting is a decent-sized hospital and is the main hospital for the surrounding areas of farmers and ranchers. So it's a very rural area of Wyoming.
Ooh, and you come after... okay.
So Wilting, Wyoming also has a reported predator problem. Many of the cattle in the area, going back to 2015, have been known to have been cut open and devoured. The cattle have shown signs of being sliced open with clean efficiency, looking like someone was taking razor-sharp knives to the animal and cutting through tendons and fat cleanly, looking for the parts of the cow most savored. Many cattle through 2016 kept the same markings of being sliced open. So, someone's going around slaughtering cows, alright?
Yeah.
In Wilting, Wyoming. So, also, another fact upon investigation revealed that many of the cattle had their ankles sliced, leaving them unable to move, followed by neck and head wounds, swiftly killing the animal while it was bisected shortly afterwards.
Are these confirmed reports?
Yes, so these animals were... Lots of these cows were killed. Alright, this is a common... In Wilting, Wyoming, this was a problem in 2015. It was a reported predator problem. A lot of, like, cops and stuff were looking at these cows. They were sliced up. So, you know, everyone thinks, like, oh, man, this could be a bear. This could be a sick fuck out there butchering these cows. Could be one of a few things. So, in the end of 2016, though, the first disappearance occurred in Wilting of a young girl, Sarah Barnes, age 8. She disappeared from her family's ranch. The only signs was blood leading off the property over the ranching fence, and then a little bit off the property past the fence, all signs disappear of the girl, and the blood after that point. So, this 8-year-old girl, taken off her family's ranch, only thing they found was blood that was hers, leading from the porch to the ranching fence, and once they got off the property, the blood trail seems to stop.
Yeah.
So, wait. So this chick disappeared just like Henry did?
Well, the difference is Henry... There was no blood in Henry's...
Henry just vanished.
Vanished from... Like, she was alone on her porch.
Like, something clearly dragged her off.
Right. So
we just don't know what it was.
So next, in 2017...
Pedophiles.
Oh my fucking god.
Next, in 2017, a car was found on the highway just outside of Wilting, with its window smashed and bloodstains spraying the seats. And a male hand was found on the scene, belonging to Andrew Clay, still wearing its wristwatch, cleanly sliced through.
I mean, he's got a flex in the afterlife.
Now, there are a few more disappearances through to 2018, but none have the blood amounts to lead us to make a connection. At least from my research. So, Logan, do you want to talk about any of that?
I actually have a survivor report.
You have a survivor
report? Oh, boy.
We do not have a confirmed source, but I've done some digging. Technically a survivor report from one of the disappearing. So, do you know of the Afton family? The Afton twins.
I don't know at all.
They were one of the disappearances. Jacob Afton was one of the disappearances in this case. He had a brother who at the age of 12 was with his brother. They went out to the cattle ranch. They liked fucking with the cows. You know.
Whoa.
No, I mean pushing them over and stuff. Like just being assholes.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that they were doing a different thing that kids in Wilting, Wyoming
His brother was 15. He was 12. So they took turns going up.
Took turns going up to the cows.
Like just pushing them over. Yeah. Dumb Wyoming shit. Like because they hid because they didn't want to get caught by, the cattle rancher.
Okay.
So, let me pull it up. His report, which was posted on Reddit, which he confirmed that he did live in the area, but he was unwilling to do official interviews. It kind of get buried because it was posted on a...
Right, it's just posted on a forum site.
Yeah.
And, the internet is not the most trustworthy source.
But what he said is that his brother went up to go to the cattle and, push it over, and he got distracted. He turned around because he thought he heard something, because the other person was keeping out, and he heard a clicking noise.
Oh, boy.
Which is what caught my attention. He heard a clicking noise, and when he turned around, the cow itself was actually splattered with blood, and his brother was nowhere to be found. The only thing they found of him was his leg, his feet. It was almost as if, something had... And by the cow, which seemed to have just been coated with blood, it was like someone had cut just, multiple lines straight through
So
him.
just like lines of blood on this cow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
And only his legs, which were in the exact same position that they would have been if he was walking.
Oh.
And
Oof.
he says he ran up and all he saw was a small blood trail slowly, like, going into the forest.
Ooh.
And he ran home, and what he said was he heard clicking just following him back.
Oh.
And that's
I can't try to fathom what this clicking is, right? So that's the thing that like kind of like keeps me up at night. It's like this inhuman clicking.
That
What if this alleged creature was just really aggressively finger snapping? Hey,
we'll see.
I'm gonna get you.
So here's the thing, though, right? We know that it's not that because something happens 2 months before Marianne's trip to Wilting. A woman was found bisected in a field on one of the ranches. The ranch hand reported seeing a sleek black shape above the woman, roughly the size of a man, with a tail coming off of it.
Oh boy.
When the ranch hand ran to check it out, the creature turned to him and clicked from its mouth. He said that it had almost a like insectoid type of like mouth, that it had more jaws than anything should have.
So this
outer jaws supposedly clicked together.
This isn't like Nessie or Bigfoot. This is like some guy actually seeing this.
So that's what this ranch head says, right?
Does he have a history of substance abuse?
So, but here's the thing, right? So, now, he says this happens, but what the other people at the ranch said is they came out on this morning, found this ranch hand over the woman's body, waving his butcher's knife off into the distance. So they found him over this naked, bisected woman with a bloody knife and was like, well, this is the fucking creep dude that's been bisecting and killing everybody. So, the police found the ranch hand Mitch Coolidge as guilty for all of this shit.
Yeah.
Everything in Wilting. The cow bisections, the missing children. I mean, this guy just went to jail for years. He was just open shut case.
Well, good. Sounds like a piece of shit.
So, the interesting thing is that the bisecting of animals didn't stop fully as a phenomenon, though. It didn't happen anymore in Wilting, but it started happening down the highway headed towards Humble, Utah. Bisected animal here, a bisected animal there. But no more human disappearances. It actually seemed to travel towards Humble, Utah before spreading out through the Midwest. So, even today, people are finding bisected animals. It is a phenomenon now. It is. Like, it is just a thing that happens out in that area of the country.
Is it a higher occurrence, or is it still at the rate?
It's more widespread, almost.
So,
it seems to bounce around a lot.
So it's not happening more each night. It's just spread out more.
Right. So
this one sounds like bullshit.
So the theory is that this
we
creature traveled
pictures.
on after killing a few in Wilting before moving on, and Marianne Jones was just a poor victim of this known threat before it moved on through the Midwest. It scaled through her window and murdered her in her sleep. Many skeptics of this theory, however, view these dissections as a result of psychopathy burst phenomenon, which started happening roughly around the 2000 era.
Wait, psychopathy burst phenomenon?
Yeah, so we'll eventually cover this in more detail, but I'll bring it up now. So everybody remembers, like 2012, the end of we've had a lot of apocalypses that haven't happened, right?
Yeah.
And so what psychologists are starting to see is bursts of psychopathy is coming into being because the world is always ending, but it's not ending. So they're finding that a bunch of it almost seems like children all over the country are going out into a field and killing animals. Or, we're just seeing the rise of murder in the country where we're looking at these things. And it's called a psychopathy burst.
It actually has a name? I kept hearing about this shit.
Right. So, people are saying that... Go ahead, Alex.
Sane people call this rising crime rates.
No.
No, these are kids. These are always children.
These are always just like people. It's always like impressionable youths. It's never. It's a psychopathy burst phenomenon. It affects like youths, and they usually talk that these animals are like the steps to more in increased serial killing. So. We'll talk about this theory more in a future episode, but skeptics say, oh, there's no fucking creature out in the Midwest. It's just a bunch of kids that live this weird life that's ending because farming is shit and, they're turning to serial killing. Like, due to this phenomenon that's supposedly happening due to the modernization of society.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. We have Henry, we have Robert, and we have the creature.
I have one more.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
What do you want to add?
So, that medical company, Oaklight, sorry.
Good.
Didn't write it down somewhere, should have. From my research...
just did? Just kidding.
No. This is what the majority of my time was spent on. It is believed that instead of this being some crazy ass, there are two theories that go into this. One, Robert is a serial killer. Robert is a serial killer who practiced on animals, and his Midwest kind of range is simply him kind of expanding. And he uses his business trips as covers to go and steal people and cut them up. And he uses technology from Oaklight to do it.
So you think that Robert Klein is using medical technology to create these bisections?
Yes.
Ooh, I
think
John,
he's using it to...
Fellas, we all heard that fucking letter, right?
Yeah, he's fucking crazy. He has some sort of weird obsession. I think the thing is, he built this up. I think the whole idea... This is only one of two things. One, and I think... Actually, no. I'm going to leave my conclusions until theory. Second one. Oaklight is doing animal testing and other weird, fucked up shit. Marianne found out and they killed her.
Okay,
That's like the most fallout I have, but I think it makes sense. She gets all of these injuries from Oaklight. Like, she traveled everywhere. She walks with Oaklight. It seems to be the only fucking thing she does past live with her husband. Her husband doesn't seem to be. So either has to be Robert, who's fucking insane, or who's using his power over her financially to have trips and power fantasies, and eventually he builds himself up to murder. Or it's Oaklight, where she wandered into something she shouldn't have. Maybe paperwork got jumbled up, and they had to clean her up.
Hey, if any of the two people watching this is an employee of Oaklight, please don't stab us 9 times in the chest each.
Well, so that's the interesting thing though about Oaklight, right? Is that like this was a big deal. One of their salespeople was killed, right?
Yeah.
And like you can't get anyone to make any official comment on the case other than that, it was a tragedy what happened.
Officially,
it's a tragedy, and that's it. You can't, I even tried to call the Oaklight local offices. I've talked to representatives as they go into our local hospitals here at Glendale, and bringing up the name Marianne Jones makes these, happy, nice people go to, assholes so quick.
I have dug fall, and the best I can get is some bullshit shit that I don't even know is real about conspiracy theories.
You browse 3chan?
And 5chan. Sometimes 7chan, but only to do research.
Dude, please don't bring 7chan to the research table.
Okay, I had to dig fucking everywhere. So Marianne Jones and Oaklight is so fucking buried. That's why I'm thinking it could be a possibility. Because there had to be something. It feels like something is getting buried here.
Well, the thing that always stays to me is, where the fuck did Henry go?
That's fucking right.
There's so much crazy shit with the Joneses that, like, you know...
And me.
No, but I mean,
what the fuck happened to him?
Her medical records, and then he just disappears. Like, he is gone.
That's my biggest ploy on the Oaklight theory, is they are the only people I feel
who had the money to remove him from a state penitentiary.
Yeah, I think they just got fucking rid of him.
So
that's because if he just died or in prison or something, I wouldn't have any suspicions. It just, I don't know what the fuck happened to him. I don't know. Let's conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of
conclusions.
It's just kind of theories of how we think this went down.
Conclusions. Shit's whack. Shit's whack. That's my theory. Shit's whack.
What do you think, Alex? What do you think?
Like, legitimately, what do you think?
Yeah.
I think that if we speak any more on this topic, Oaklight is gonna send in some fucking dude with a pistol and a knife, and is gonna stab us.
No, but legitimately, like... I know it's hard. I'm having issues, too. Just, like...
Okay. I think Robert, or whoever the fuck, what was his name again?
Robert Klein.
Yeah, Robert Klein. God, what a fucking serial killer name. I think he... Yeah. Well, there you go, yeah. I think he killed her.
I agree. Honestly, the most likely thing is Robert Klein killed her. Because the weird shit, the book is so fucking weird.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, took a fucking look at it. It's so...
With his writings and his love letters, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a trophy, a shrine to what he's done, almost.
Yeah. I mean, it's either he did, or fucking the husband did it after having a psychotic break, which I don't think he did, or Oaklight. But let's not talk about Oaklight because I don't want to get stabbed.
So, or was it an actual creature?
No, shut the fuck up.
No. We do have to take, like, it is a long shot, but we do have to acknowledge that there's enough weird shit that it's not out of the equation. I'm not saying it's a weird insect or creature. I'm just saying maybe, fuck if I know, maybe Oaklight mutated a fucking jaguar or something.
No, shut up. We're not doing this.
So, I think at the end of the day, Marianne Jones was loved by two men. She shared her life with two men, her husband and her partner. And that was her life. Robert Klein was her partner at work. He went everywhere with her. They lived that job together. They were in these cities. They were on these assignments. And he obviously loved her. Like, the evidence just proves to that he wanted Marianne to leave her husband and for them to be together. And Henry loved the shit out of Henry loved Gail. He called her Gail. Which is the thing that, honestly, about this whole case that bothers me the most, is the fact that, like...
I thought it was the clicking that bothered me.
No, the clicking bothers me. But a husband has a nickname for his wife, right? Gail.
Yeah.
And he says that it is something that she honestly would be called by. He says things like, oh, everybody called her Gail. Robert supposedly called her Gail. Why is it in every piece of evidence about this woman, it's Marianne Jones?
What if she isn't Marianne Jones?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's fucking crazy.
Like,
but no, the thing that's the one thing that bothers me is that in one piece of documents of this whole thing, the only thing that we have that is literally like the psychiatric report about Henry Jones is he says that he would constantly use her self-prescribed nickname, which he termed Gail. This man talked about his wife and called her Gail for the entire time he talked to a psychologist in prison. It just doesn't, I don't know. It's weird. I just feel like it's a little weird thing.
Yeah.
That bothers me. That and the clicking. And who knows? Maybe this fucking weird creature thing crawled into her window at night and stabbed her 9 times with whatever it uses to bisect things and kill things. And that's fucking terrifying.
Well, yeah, that is fucking.
But it could be more terrifying that, a husband or a lover couldn't handle the fact this woman couldn't choose which part of her life.
I have a few things to say regarding the alleged, quote unquote, finger quotes. I'm doing a lot of skeptic things right now. The creature, right?
The creature?
I think that was just Robert. I think he was just testing his shit out on animals, like Max said. And if the creature did kill Marianne Jones, the method doesn't line up. 9 stab wounds to the chest isn't dissection.
9 stab wounds to the chest feels personal. A personal slight. Whoever killed Marianne...
if it was a creature,
the stab wounds hit her lungs. She didn't bleed out. The first stab wound clipped her lungs, so she could not scream.
It feels. I just want to know, because the creature argument is actually helped by this. The creature, if it does exist, does not follow its usual process, and we don't know why.
We don't. The only thing we know is that this creature, if we do the creature theory, right? And this is going to be my last bit, because, I think we're all just reeling on, despite having all this evidence, who really knows what happened to Marianne Jones?
Yeah, that's why
it's unsolved.
It's such a hot take.
But we know that up to the point that Marianne and Robert, 2 months before was the last incident, right? Before they went up to Wilting. And then... after they head back from Wilting, the creature comes with them. Right?
Huh.
It moves back to them, and then she dies. So, I'm going to put my super, super skeptic hat on. This is my super, super skeptic theory, and it's my last one. Is that, they went out there, they came back, creature followed, Marianne's dead.
Yeah.
That is the way that set of events would happen.
Robert.
If it's the creature.
That doesn't explain why the husband is gone, though.
Why the husband disappeared?
The only well, I guess it could. Guess the creature could have just been I want him too. But it's...
oh, yeah, because he can teleport now, sure.
Yeah, whatever. But the only theories that seem to make sense is Robert, Oakland, and this creature thing.
So
I don't think John did it, because John would not have fucking disappeared.
My name is John. Henry.
Henry. I'm sorry, John. I'm really fucking heated.
There's a lot of names.
I've known you my entire life, but...
but I'm going to say that you didn't do it. I don't think that you, in 2018, when you were on that road trip down to Humble, Utah...
Fellas, I think you're missing the clear suspect here.
Alex, where were you on my...
No, the ghost train.
The ghost train? Just hit her, and the train tracks look like 9 knife wounds. Alright, so we are left with more questions than answers, and I feel like we all kind of have our own... We're all going to leave this case of Marianne Jones. But we hope that you've liked being around the campfire with us tonight on this interesting true crime case of the Joneses.
If you have any questions, leave a comment on the YouTube channel.
Subscribe, message us. And if you know anything more, go ahead. Let us know.
Let us know.
In the comments, and we will try to look back at this as more things move up. So look forward to our next case next week. As always, it's John.
It's Mac.
And it's Alex.
Alrighty.
Fuck you.
Signing off.
I'm going to blow the campfire out. You guys ready? It's blown out.
It's blown out. Oh, God, no.
I hate you.